Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS Slate Breakdown for Friday, June 21st. We're going to be breaking it down. We got a 10-day game slate to go over, and it looks like a fun one to me. I think there's a lot of different ways to get different. Now, before we get into it, come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to everything we do, all the props, all the DFS. You get it all, one low price. Now, what we're going to go over today. First, perfect lineups and winning lineups from yesterday. Then pitchers to consider for today, as well as some stacks. Going to try and give you all the information you need to make your lineups. Now, let's get into it. Let's have some fun and see what we can come up with here. So, first of all, our perfect lineup from yesterday's 7-game main slate. We got Seth Lugo, who scored 42 at 10.5K. So way expensive for only getting 42, but yesterday was a day where pitching just really didn't get it done. So Lugo being the only guy north of 40, not that surprising he made it when there was a guy like Freddie Fermin who at 2,500 put up 40. He had 2 bombs. We had a 4-man Baltimore stack, and then one-offs. Will Brennan went for 43. Jose Miranda went nuts. Dylan Moore went nuts and got it done using almost all the salary, 330 points. And then the winning lineup went to Shady Advice, who took home 10K. The score of 244.5. They had Chris Flexen at 37. Flexen was only 6,700, allowed him to pay up for a ton of different bats. And because the perfect lineup pitcher was only at 42 and 10.5K, it allowed him to get a pretty expensive stack that got it done. So 3-man Dodger stack with a 4-man Baltimore stack and a one-off of Dylan Moore. Baltimore went nuts, scoring 17. Dodgers just hit home runs, so it did them enough. Ohtani with 24. Will Smith had a home run. Vargas was cheap, only got 6.5, but it was enough for Shady Advice to take it down. Now, get into DraftKings, where we had Gavin Stone and Seth Lugo as the 2 pitchers, then a 3-man Baltimore stack and one-offs from there, with the winning lineup going to Hoobie Hammer, who actually had first and second place. His first place lineup won by 15 points, and that was Gavin Stone, Mackenzie Gore, followed by a 5-man Baltimore stack, 2-man Cleveland, and a one-off with Seattle. Interesting, the Seattle spot was not Dylan Moore. It was Bliss, who only scored 9, but he had Will Brennan with this Baltimore stack, which really did it. Baltimore was super low owned, and Brennan was only 2% owned. So he was super contrarian and got it done. So congrats to him. Let's get into today's lineup now, or today's contest. Today's pitchers, if you will. Now, our highest owned pitcher of the day is Dylan Cease. He hasn't pitched great lately. He is in a spot versus Milwaukee, who he absolutely dominated in April, going 6 innings with 7 Ks and only 1 earned run. However, he is not quite in the form that he was in April. In April and May, he was pitching really good. Over the last 5 starts, he's up to a 4.4 FIP, a 5.86 ERA. Strikeout rate is still fairly high. His StatCast data is a little rough, but his StatCast data generally is a little rough. He allows, some hard contact and a lot of fly balls. But right now, he's just not missing as many bats, and there is 10 barreled balls over the last month, which is bottom 5% in the league. So that is the scary part. He is versus Milwaukee, who hits righties hard. They are a decent offense. I definitely see why you want to play Dylan Cease, but I also see why you might want to fade him. So on this one, I go either way. I'm definitely going to have some of him, as there's really not that many pitchers I want to play here today. But he is, huge for upside in this spot, and he's not too expensive, so I don't mind going there at 10K. Next, we got George Kirby, 9.4K, 2.3X. He is our best value of the slate, 25% owned, 5-star alert score. The only thing here is the game is in Miami, where he's averaging 59% less fantasy points away. Now, this is not just a this year thing. Last year was there too. He struck out like one batter less per 9 than away than he did at home. We had the same thing going on today. He is not as effective away for some reason. However, doesn't mean that he can't have a very good game. Put up 25 versus Oakland away, 5 innings, 9 Ks. He can absolutely do it against this Miami team that has poor WOBA, poor ISO, strikes out at 21%. I'm definitely intrigued on Kirby. We like him even though he's away. So let's go. Next, we got Chris Sale versus the Yankees. Now, Aaron Judge was back yesterday. That Yankees offense is just different when Soto and Judge are both in the lineup. So that is the big worry. Yankees are very, very good versus lefties. But Chris Sale has been pretty much unhittable. 2.19 FIP over his last 5. 2.82 over his last 20. K-rate's up there. StatCast data looks great. It is just, do you want to face that Yankees offense as a lefty or not? That is the big worry there. I am kind of surprised he's getting as much ownership as he is facing that offense. With facing that offense, I think there may not be quite the upside we have seen in other spots. So I don't like it quite as much, but like I said, pitching today isn't that great, so I'm going to keep him in my pool, but I'm not trying to get more of him than I need to be getting. Next, we got Chris Paddock at Oakland. They are just not good versus righties, and in the short term, they've been terrible versus righties. The big issue here is he's averaging 39% less fantasy points away. Now he's 8.7K, so that prices came up a little bit. I was loving him in the 6 and 7s. 8.7K is a lot for him, especially when he just got shelled last week for them. 2.1 innings, 5 earned runs, 0 Ks. Now, can that happen again? Yes, but is it likely? Probably not. I think Paddock is okay, but I really don't love him in this spot with 20% ownership. Next, Carlos Rodon versus the Braves. So the Braves appear to have started hitting. They are very good versus lefties. They strike out almost 23%. Rodon's been pitching very well. Definitely intrigued with taking some Rodon here. The only issue for me is upside. The fact that he has a 22% K rate over his last 5. 24.5% combined K rate isn't bad for 8.6K. So I'm willing to go here, but I am a little worried about the Braves offense because they've started hitting. It is warm in New York. The winds are side shore though, so they shouldn't, or side shore, go across the field. We're not on the shore here. But anyways, Rodon's another one where I'm just okay with. A lot of these guys today, I'm going to have to mix and match because there's not really a guy where I'm like, all right, this is where we got to go. I'm okay with Rodon. Don't love the spot once again. DJ Hertz, he's in Colorado. He looked absolutely great last time out. But now the game's in Colorado. Can I trust that he can keep a 35% K rate up? Absolutely not. Now, Colorado does strike out a ton versus lefties, but it's in Colorado. I don't mind having a little bit of him. He's cheap. Pitching's, a bit rough today, but as a DK, second pitcher, he's fine for me. I wouldn't play him on FanDuel because I just don't think the upside's going to be there. Next, we got Trevor Rogers versus Seattle. They strike out 27% versus lefties. They have a decent ISO. Their WOBA is low. This is just, can Rogers get a couple strikeouts and work deep enough into this game? He's only 5.4K. I think you can play him on DraftKings as an SB2. The Seattle lineup, they hit the ball hard, but if their home runs only have one person on, Rogers absolutely can be useful at that price. Next, Grayson Rodriguez, 9.6K, 2x value. Big thing here is that Houston doesn't strike out a lot. Now, Rodriguez is a very good pitcher. His strikeout rate is decent. StatCast data is okay. All in all, I am absolutely fine with going Rodriguez, just like I am with Sale or Rodon or Cease. All of them project very similarly. All are right around 2x. All have some upside, but all are in tough matchups, and that's what we see again here. Just another tough matchup. Astros are decent. Not quite as good as years prior, but same thing as they don't strike out that much. The one nice thing is they have been striking out 21% versus 19% over the last 20 games versus righties. The other thing is that ISO has been low compared to normal, and the WOBA has been low. So as a team, they just haven't been hitting quite as well as normal. Grayson Rodriguez at low ownership is another guy I'm interested in. And then Nathan Eovaldi. So Eovaldi started pitching pretty well here. He's only 8.9K, 2.1x value. I'm definitely intrigued in him. We know he has the upside. 3.3 FIP over his last 5, 28% K rate. StatCast data looks decent. A lot of ton of ground balls, a little bit of hard contact, but a lot of ground balls, and he's missing the barrel, which is nice. Now, Royals have done decently off him, but nothing this year, and it's not like they've really crushed him, and he has had some games with some upside. So I'm intrigued with them. I don't love going against the Royals because they are a decent offense, and they like to run, and Eovaldi has had a trouble keeping guys, to one base, which just makes teams obviously a little more dangerous. So Eovaldi I do like. He's low owned, 2.1x, a little bit better projection, dollar cost wise. And so I am intrigued on Eovaldi, but it is a little scary. Cutter Crawford is getting nice projection. His consensus is okay, but I'm not going to go here. I am very scared of Cutter Crawford in this matchup, and I actually love to stack Cincy today. Patrick Sandoval versus the Dodgers. Never really want to face the Dodgers. However, Mookie Betts-less Dodgers coming home off of a Colorado trip is probably the spot you want to face them if there is ever a time. The issue here is that he is a lefty. Teoscar Hernandez is an elite hitter versus a lefty, so losing Mookie doesn't help a ton if you are a lefty. Andrew Abbott, he's been pitching decently, but it's like 95 degrees in Cincinnati in the Great American Small Park and allows 57% fly balls. I just don't love that combo. Brady Singer, Landon Knack is going to be starting for the Dodgers. You could go here just based on the fact that he's 7.6K versus the Angels. He has shown a little bit of upside in the past. 6 innings, 94 pitches, 5 Ks. I do have a little bit of an issue that he had made 2 spot starts, or he made a spot start in May 19th and only went 64 pitches. So I do worry a little bit that they would maybe have him slightly limited. But all in all, I think Knack is at least in the running to play, but I really don't love the spot. Everybody else pretty much over them in this spot. So let's get over to FanDuel to check out what we got there pitching wise. So highest owned pitcher on FanDuel is the same. It is Dylan Cease. Next, Carlos Rodon, 9.5K, 25% owned. George Kirby, 9.8K, 4.0x, which is our best value, and a little less owned. I think he is the clear kind of top option today, even though he is away. And then we got Chris Sale, 10.8K, 14% owned coming in after that. Pivots, Grayson Rodriguez in a very, very similar situation as Rodon or Sale, but just less ownership. So fine to go there. Also fine to go to Evaldi, who is also low owned. Those two would be my favorite lower owned pivots today, with Kirby likely being my favorite pitcher. So let's get over to some stacks now. Now, our highest ceiling play of the day is Washington. Nope. Baltimore and Boston. Makes a lot of sense to me. Baltimore, they've been crushing the ball lately. We're not sure who is the pitcher yet for the Astros, but Baltimore has been crushing good right-handed starters. So if there's a righty that is meh, you got to believe that I'm going to be playing a lot of them, especially if they're going at that low owned. Boston and Cincinnati. Abbott allows a ton of fly balls. It is Great American Small Park. It is super warm. Boston's been hitting the ball well. They're not quite as good versus lefties, but I am very, very intrigued with this team. Definitely going to have a little bit of them. Dodgers versus Patrick Sandoval. I'm fully on board with some Dodgers. They are a great offense and continually get it done. And without Mookie, it's a little easier to fully stack the team because there's just more cheap options. Cleveland versus Yariel Rodriguez is a little interesting. The wind is blowing in a little bit in Cleveland, but not too hard. Definitely intrigued with them. They've been hitting the ball pretty well and continue to get it done, and are still moderately priced. So definitely intrigued with some Cleveland. Now our highest owned stacks, we got to believe that it is going to be Washington or Colorado, as the game is in Colorado. It's pretty much a pick 'em. Wow, Toronto is the highest owned versus Cleveland and Carlos Carrasco. Carrasco has a 4.5 FIP over the last 5, 5.23 over the last 20. I think Toronto's fine, but no way they should be the highest owned, and I am probably going to have very little of them if they stay the highest owned. Washington is next versus Dakota Hudson. I love this spot for Washington. They aren't that expensive. You get the Colorado boost. Dakota Hudson isn't that great of a pitcher. Definitely intrigued to go there. And then let's check out the highest projected stacks for the day. Our highest projected stacks, we got Baltimore, we have the Dodgers, and we have Minnesota. Minnesota is one that I think is very interesting. Royce Lewis just absolutely crushing the ball, just keeps homering. Joey Estes, 5.49 FIP over the last 20, 4.37 over the last 5. Absolutely a fine spot to stack here. Dodgers, we talked about. Baltimore, we talked about. And we can move it on to highest value. And the highest value, we got Miami, Oakland, and Minnesota. So Miami versus George Kirby. Look, Kirby is a great pitcher, but he has been way worse away. So for that reason alone, stacking some Kirby stacking against some Kirby makes some sense. Oakland versus Chris Paddock. Chris Paddock absolutely just got slammed against Oakland. That makes some sense also. Oakland also has some speed. They have some power. They can score in different ways. Makes a little bit of sense to try and fit some of them in. Minnesota obviously makes sense. The only thing here is that if I'm stacking Minnesota, I probably want to get one of their better hitters in as well, instead of guys that are, I want one kind of just dominant spot in that lineup. To me, this lineup is actually a little, I don't want to say overpriced, but lacks ceiling. Now that medium projection is decent versus Joey Estes, but we need more home runs than this lineup is going to give you. And let's check out the teams here. So, our highest implied run total, we got Washington at 5.8, Colorado at 5.2. I have said over and over again, Colorado goes under-owned routinely in these. DJ Hers was very, very good last time out, but he is still a young prospect, hasn't had a game in Colorado. Pitchers can have a very tough game in Colorado, even elite pitchers. So I don't even care that Hertz played well last time. Absolutely down to go there. Next, we got Boston versus Abbott and Cincinnati versus Cutter Crawford. Both of them look interesting. Washington is the only one that looks looked higher owned of these three also, as well as Cleveland. I am very intrigued with all four of those: Colorado, Boston, Cincinnati, and Cleveland stacks. Dodgers 4.7 implied total, Baltimore 4.7, Minnesota 4.4, Texas 4.4. All are super interesting to me. I think you can also throw San Diego in there as an interesting one versus Colin Ray. He has a 4.44 FIP over his last 20. The only issue there is Baltimore's bullpen has been good. So you don't love it from that standpoint, but Padres can definitely put up some runs, and they've been hitting home runs lately. Jackson Merrill, 6 home runs in the last 8 games. Tatis has had a few. Machado finally hit one yesterday. Cronenworth hit one yesterday. If that power stays, the Padres lineup looks a little more interesting. I don't mind stacking either the Yankees or Atlanta here just because they're going to be super low owned, and we know those are very good offenses. That was one of the things that I talked about the other day with Baltimore. And yesterday I thought about Baltimore as the fact that they are an elite offense going low owned due to a pitcher going against them. Elite offenses can get good pitchers sometimes, and Atlanta and the Yankees can absolutely do it in a one-off. So I'm at least intrigued by both of them. So also Milwaukee. I think you got to throw Milwaukee in there. Dylan Cease hasn't been that great lately with a 4.4 FIP over his last 5, allowing 34% hard contact, high average exit velocity lately. I think they make a little bit of sense as a leverage stack as well. So that'll do it for us today, guys. Good luck. Let's make some money, and I will see you next week. Peace.